Oh, we're live. Jennifer Lacey, what's going on?
Hello. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I am getting better. It's
Okay.
funny. As soon as we go live, my energy it's like, okay, wake up.
Yes.
But today's one of those days where once we come off, I'm like, I'm tired. I've
Well,
been,
you've had kind of, I mean, again, you've had like a highs and lows. You've had a lot of things hit you this week, but you also
yeah.
had some really positive things,
Oh,
right?
huge week. I got to hang out with the Austin COP.
Mhm.
And do a presentation with them. They're in Austin. I got to hang out with the guys from Dynaten. We got to do
Mhm.
some in-person training. Did a live stream with Eileen yesterday.
Yes, which was
Show,
awesome.
that was awesome, showcasing the sponsors and exhibitor opportunities for Congress. Got to connect with your people.
No, that was fun. And then that just, I don't know why I haven't learned that when I just bring you into a room, it doesn't matter who's in the room. They're just like, we need more of Jesse. And I'm like, really? Do you?
Yeah, that was awesome. And at the same time, allergies and AC broke at the hotel room. The battery died in the car. I banged my head. It was a good week. It was a great week. Oh look, we already got some repeat
Heck yeah.
offenders.
Good
Mr.
morning.
Jake and Heather are gallivanting around the world.
Okay.
They are in Uruguay today. Man, thank
No,
you for joining us. What time is it?
yes,
I wonder.
absolutely.
Oh, you remember this
I
guy?
do, yes. I'm
Oh
super
man.
excited. Yes, he's got a lot going on. He's wrapping some stuff up and he's getting ready for some big changes. So I'm excited for him.
I've heard whispers. What's up, Josh? And then, of course, the ever faithful Miss Sarah. She's
Yes.
getting a haircut, so she won't be able to stay on. No problem. I understand. You got to get the hair did and keep looking good. Um, man, and we
So
got
you
Judith.
do. You got all kinds of people today.
Yeah, and then we got Miss Mika. We got to hang out
Good
yesterday.
morning, Mika.
Holy moly. All right, folks, keep it coming. Let us know if you're out there in the Omniverse. And before we get too far off track, I want to let everybody know
Yes.
we are going to be talking today about how to boost brainstorming. And I'm going to stay on the grouchy side of things, Jen. Like I'm really just want to talk about how not to get in the damn way because brainstorming is easy, but we have a lot of like ingrained behaviors that we need to manage so that brainstorming can happen. But
Yes. And
before we go all into it, Jen, we got some housekeeping to
we
do.
do have some housekeeping. So one, I want to go. I know Mika keeps showing up, and her other stuff isn't coming through. So sometimes she has to put her name in because it's not coming through on our end. I know there's some settings, Mika. So maybe someone in the chat can. I think we've had some people that have helped in the past, but there's a setting somewhere that's keeping your picture and things like that from not coming through. So I'm sure we can get that one figured out. But I also want to have everyone. We have a lot of people that have jumped in. Most of these are like old timers. But if you are out there and you are joining us for the first time, or you've been watching us for a while, but you've just never contributed, haven't typed anything to the conversation, we have a ask of you. So we would like for you, if you are a first timer, or if you are willing to get a little bit outside of your comfort zone today and contribute to the conversation, if you will drop a blue heart in the comments. That's like literally all you have to do. And if you don't know how to do that, you right click, go to emojis, and then you're able to select blue heart. But if you put a blue heart, it does a couple of things for us. Number one, it lets us know that, hey, I'm a first timer. This is the first time I've been here. And then it also allows our entire No BS tribe to surround you and
Yeah.
to completely jump in, you're engaged with your content, let you know that, hey, we've got a community here that we love to encourage each other, to elevate each other, to like kind of bounce things off each other. And we do that throughout the 2 weeks between when Jesse and I get on the screen. So we want to make sure that there are other people out there to connect with. So please drop a blue heart, and that will signify to us to celebrate you, but also it allows everyone else over there that is in the chat to connect with you.
Amazing. Thank you, Jennifer Lacey. Folks, also, the Nomadic Joneses, just
Yes.
let us know that LinkedIn's acting wonky. So I just dropped the link to the YouTube channel. If LinkedIn's acting wonky for you, go to YouTube. It seems to be just
Yeah.
a cleaner, less glitchy experience.
Yep.
There's just too much energy coming through. We're
I
breaking
mean,
leads.
just sometimes it happens like that.
Yeah, and good thing we have all these comments, because when you comment,
Oh,
when
yes.
an emoji, blue star, all of the above, your name gets put into the randomizer. And so at the top of the hour, we will do the randomizer drawing. And if your name gets selected, you're going to get access to 1 month of emotional bungee jumpers and the cultivation crew. And if you want any details on it, Mika is one of the most recent victims.
Yes.
She just went through it yesterday, so you might want to hit her up. She can give you the skinny on it. It is an experience. And speaking of like other visitors, I know Mr. James came and hung out with us.
Nice. Hello, James. Jim, how are you? I know you love your comfort zone, but I also know you're willing to kind of tiptoe out of it sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Because this week they're doing the Breakthrough Builders event there in the DFW market, yep. And I'm going to be there. So nice. I know that's a major tiptoe out of the comfort zone.
Yep.
Then we got Mr. Clyde King. He's jumping in because he's out helping
archery.
The archery team. So he's going to leave and lurk a little bit afterwards. All good. Mr. Sam Sinclair.
Good morning,
Sam. How are you, my friend? Oh, look, and Mika says, yes, I survived. And we also have another LinkedIn user says, looking forward to this discussion. Me too. So again, folks, if you leave a comment, let us know you're there. If you're new, drop the blue heart in the thing so that we can love on you and connect and support and grow together, because as one of us grows, we all grow. Yes. That's the game. And I guess we'll just have this discussion, huh, Jen?
Well, I think it's a good way to kick it off. And so you said earlier, like sometimes we get in the weeds and we can get too so focused on some of the detail things that we don't allow our brains to like idea. And I mean, I'm a recovering person that like, okay, the great idea, let's go. Instead of like, okay, that's good, but where could that evolve and grow into if we allow the space and not just cut it off as soon as we hear something that maybe there's an opportunity there. And it's kind of hand in hand though with like, just do the damn thing. So it's okay, Jesse, how do we just do the damn thing, get something and do it, but also like allow there to be space for what else could it be?
Yes. And I love that you tie it to do the damn thing, because what I'm starting to find is people think that means just get into action, right? And sometimes it does. But do the damn thing also means 100% commitment and focus and presence to what you're doing right now, right? So if I'm in brainstorming ideation stage, do the damn thing means do that and nothing else. But again, it could be interpreted to mean, okay, we talked enough, let's go into action. No. We're in brainstorming. We're going to get to action. There's separate conditions. There's separate environments to swim in, but being fully committed to it is the game. And so that, like, I mean, you mentioned it, right? If anybody saw my beautiful graphic artwork on the thumbnail, I put the two magnets, right? Because you're putting magnets facing each other, they repel, right? Like they push each other away. And I know that we got a whole lot of ballers out there in the tribe, out there in the Omniverse, ballers like James Gable,
yes.
coming in from Colorado. He says, yep, every idea is a bridge to the best idea, right? And then we got Miss Angel, the curious idealist.
Good morning, Angel.
And so all these awesome people out there in the Omniverse, in the tribe, have some level of responsibility, meaning they have direct reports or they're responsible for a specific segment of the business, which means they have the responsibilities of managing. And that the way to do that really well does not, rather conditions us to manage things and maybe squeeze out the playtime.
Yeah.
And I think brainstorming and ideation is 100% playtime. What do you think, Jen?
No, 100 and well, yes, and we were talking about this earlier. Sometimes it's the environment you create. Sometimes it starts with the environment. Obviously, you have to have some engagement and you have to have some interaction when you're trying to get people to share things that maybe they wouldn't normally share. But I told you, like for a lot of my classes that I lead and facilitate, like I do some prep work. I go in and I set the room up a little different than what they're used to. So when they walk in, their brains are already going, "Ooh, okay, what's going on in here? This is not a normal meeting. This is not a normal setting." And it to me, sometimes it's very simple. It's the way the chairs are set up. Are they in round tables? Are they in very lecture style? Are they in a U-shaped? So sometimes, like, are you already fostering like an environment to where people can already look at other people and share and stuff like that? So there's that piece, how you set up the room. The other piece is, what do you have on the walls? So for me, it's sticky notes, it's markers, it's colors. For me, it's squish balls. It's like, what am I putting out in the room to where when they walk in, they're a little like, maybe if they're coming in guarded, they're a little bit like, okay, this is different, but also this could be fun. And when you start there, when they come in and they're not sure, they're still a little uncomfortable, but like the setting is different. For me, it already puts them not in this defensive, okay, well, what can I say? What can I not say? It kind of reverts back. And I hate to say, when you're kids and you get to do colors and you're already in this kind of playful place. And
Yes.
we know when you are in a place where your brain can like just go without having to worry about the parameters, we get some really good things.
Yes. So we've talked about the setting up the physical space, right? Because that's a signal. So I want the tribe to respond to this question. Yep. Like, how do you do brainstorming? And like the physical space, 100%, right? It's going to send signals to people. If there's legal pads at every freaking chair and pens and pencils, like, okay, this is not ideation time. But I think it's important to dive into this to like, how do you set the conditions for people to be ready to brainstorm? Because it's not for some of us, or now just say, like, for me back in the day, I'm like, why the hell are we doing this? Can we just get to work? I don't have time to play these stupid games. And so there were certain things that I needed to help me, like, okay, just chill out for a little bit. You're going to get to work after we get this done. Yeah. And so folks out there, we got one big answer, which I think is really important, because then it's like, well, what's the purpose? We're going to brainstorm to fiddle fart around. I still don't have time for that.
Yep.
Ian Smith, OG Ian, says, great topic today. One of his favorite things to do, which is brainstorming, usually around continuous improvement, but harder to do if you're trying to disrupt the industry, right? Takes collaboration and being open to build off of each other. So disrupt, improve, build off of each other. That's the point, right? Yeah, that's why we're brainstorming with people. But there's some special things that can kill it or make it happen. And so in terms of like, what are the things we do? We talked about the physical space. You and I were having a conversation before, like, okay, you set up the games and everything, but now how do you help the people in the room understand or feel invited that this is a collaborative session? Are there any things you do, Jen, that help people, like, whether they like it or not, they end up doing it?
Well, yes. And I will talk about those, but I do want to bounce it back to you, because in that conversation, you talked about just the importance of just kicking off the meeting.
Yeah.
And what's important to you when you created the space? You have people coming in going, okay, what's going on here? How do you really lean in at the beginning of a meeting to help people know, like, hey, this is going to be a little bit different?
Yes. Awesome. So Here's what I do, because and I'm saying this so people can kind of like baseline, right? They may be doing this. I've facilitated meetings and I've been in sessions where the leader, the facilitator says, this is a collaborative session. You're expected to collaborate. And then they went through, and then they're like, okay, this is the time you're supposed to collaborate. Right. And it's like, ooh, this sucks. And then
I feel good.
Right. Like, what is, like, man. And it was easy for me as the facilitator to blame the people. They're just not bought in. They're just not open, whatever. Right. If you're there, you can stop that. And here's what I started doing. And it's super, super important. Have people introduce themselves, right? Like, what's your name? And I always do this, and I get a little bit of flack with it for it, but I don't have a problem with it. I don't say, what's your name? How many years have you been here? What's your role? No. What is your name? And if money was no issue, what would you be doing right now? What's your name? What's the biggest, dumbest mistake you've ever made? Right? Like, just so that people can connect at a human level, right? We're going to disarm and take all this stuff out of the room. And then I call everybody one at a time. You're next, you're on deck, you're on deck, and then go through. The reason I do that is because it is a signal right out of the gate that everyone is going to be talking.
Yes.
Right? Like, yeah, I'm going to make you at least introduce yourself. And then when they're introducing themselves, I put in extra effort to be playful and goofy and to continue to lower the defenses and like get a nice temperature of the vibe, get a nice vibe for folks to understand, like, oh, all right, this dude's a knockoff. Like, this is going to be relaxed. Mm-hmm. And that kind of creates the condition, again, the physical space, that intro right out of the gate sets things up so that we could have like these conversations that are a little less rigid, a little less sterile, and more creative. What do you think? Do I get
yes, you, of course, because I think I learned most of that from you. It's the when you ask the question, you get them to stand up and share. So they're already understanding, like, I'm not going to get to hide today. I'm not going to get to sit in the back. Like, I'm being asked to contribute. So there's that part, which is super important. And then from there, you literally can make or break the meeting because you've had them to share. They're talking, and it's like, Jesse, this and this, great. Now, what about you? What about you? What about you? For me, because it's easy for me to say something or someone else to say something, and then we move on. But like, oh my gosh, yes, let's capture that. Let's put it on a sticky. Let's write it on a board. Let's tell me more about that. How, like, anytime that you ask them a question and they answer, which is super important, and then you do something to let them know you heard them. Mm-hmm. To me, like, right, if you're setting the conditions for people that maybe are not used to this environment, they're not used to being asked, and absolutely not used to like someone valuing something they say. The more that you can acknowledge what they're saying and even repeating it back to me, I love that. Like, and then all of a sudden, I mean, you're a kid again. You're just like, yeah, of course. I mean, like, you get excited. You're already setting the stage for them to get excited about sharing something else.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like, I think of it as like stoking the fire.
Yes.
Right. And so Steve Martin, he says he just brainstormed how to eliminate wonkiness. So apparently LinkedIn still acted wonky.
Okay.
YouTube seems to be smooth. Thanks for the heads up, Steve. And then we got Mr. Pete Zeppatella, who says you have to make them realize the brainstorming is going to help their job to get better at the point that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. So, Jen, how much do you like plus deltas when people don't do anything about the plus deltas or don't do anything?
They're worthless. They're worthless because number one, I asked somebody to do something. I asked for their feedback. So that was time and that was effort. And there's people that contribute that and go, you know what? This is what I like. This is what could be better. And as soon as they share that, okay, they've put themselves out there. And if we don't acknowledge what they've said, And two,
Yep.
if we make no changes and we make no adjustments and we just go, we want your feedback, but we're not going to change and do anything different, then it was worthless because they will never do it again.
Yes. Yes. And so, Pete, thank you. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, maybe plus delta isn't necessarily brainstorming, but it is an element of like the continuous improvement stuff. You don't take action on what you gather, which is connected to brainstorming. Right now, to be clear, during a brainstorming ideation session, that does not mean, and here's where I think the break is, right? It does not mean that everybody's fluffy, glittery, beautiful idea is going to be taken.
True.
And so we got to be clear about that. Like, we are ideating, and Pete pointed it out. For what purpose?
Yep.
We are ideating so that we can make this thing better. Now, we're not saying put a fence around the number of ideas, but be clear about what the purpose is, because for some people, you walk into a room and people are brainstorming and you're like, what the hell are these people doing? Be clear about what you're working on, right? And follow through. At the very least, follow through, report out, let people know we did this ideation. These are the ideas we got. These are the things we're taking action on. These are the things we're not. So that little step there, I think, long-term creates conditions where people understand what this is going to look like full cycle. Right? It's like, because a lot of us, it's new. If it's new, it's like, what the hell is this? It's the new flavor of the month, blah, blah, blah. But when you're making it part of the like natural order of things, that follow-up, the report out, the action, the clarity helps people start embracing and understand that brainstorming is a thing in and of itself. Now, Maria says, Jen, tell them about the cards. What's up with the cards?
I have cards that have very and you've experienced them, but I have cards, a lot of different type of cards that have almost like they're questions to get to know other people. So a little bit more vulnerable cards, a little bit more personal. And so what I've done, because again, it's a little bit, you're pulling people into an environment they're not used to. And so what I found is I'll get groups of 2 or 3, sometimes just 2. And they'll pair off. So it's not just in the room. And I'll just have them ask them a question. And then they start having a conversation. So if they're not comfortable in general, they're at least comfortable having a one-on-one. And the report out from that is they have to share what the other person answered. So then they're kind of reporting out on each other, but it also is starting to build relationships and starting to build connections, which we know that it helps us grow when it comes to sharing and listening and things like that. And so I have a lot of different boxes with a lot of different questions. Some of them are very, if you could go anywhere in the world, those kind of things. But also it's like, when was the last time you cried? So it's some of it gets a little bit, and there, but it also, when you start breaking down those barriers, because we know vulnerability is, it's scary. When you start breaking down those barriers and it's safe to do those things, other things come out. So it's not just going, I need you to get vulnerable because I need vulnerable responses. We're starting to get people to go, it's safe to be in here and to kind of throw some ideas out that I probably wouldn't normally share.
Yes. Well, again, beautiful point. I'll say it this way. I haven't figured out how to tell people, be vulnerable, be collaborative, and then it happened.
Right.
Again, like, it doesn't work. You've got to set the stage. You got to set the conditions. Getting some props here from Miss Melissa, who we got to hang out with.
Yes, she was another first timer yesterday.
She says, love that, Jennifer. To paraphrase, you said it does wonders if we set the stage for an incubator session. Fancy words today. Thank you, Melissa. Now, so we're talking about brainstorming, right? And we talked a lot about setting the conditions, setting up the physical space, helping people understand, okay, we're going to be talking and creating the conditions so that they have to talk, at least interject and get people to know on a human level, right? Take off the mask, take off the costume, and just be a human being. We talked about kind of the closing, the follow-up of it, and clarifying what the direction is. So I feel like we've given people like the simple structure of how to do some brainstorming. What do you think, Jen? What did we miss?
We have, but I do want to dig into another point before we move on past setting the stage. Jesse, I know some people, when they hear the word brainstorming, colors, paint, abstract, just like, it's just, there's no parameters, like default. If you're wanting me to go into a bouncy ball session, like, it's just, I think people, their default when they think about brainstorming is this very, open, collaborative, but like, and I think it goes back to like being super clear. Why are we doing it up front? But I have a session coming up in a couple weeks with 2 departments that are having some bottlenecks and some issues when it comes to conversations back and forth and some tasks and things like that. Okay. It's very tactical.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, it's a little bit, relationship conversations, but it's very tactical. And so I am having conversations with them and asking them, some very open-ended questions to get some feedback from them so that when I go in there, we can talk about things. Is that brainstorming?
I would say that qualifies as tilling the ground.
Okay.
Right? Like you're doing some extra front end work to get, I would say you're doing the brainstorming because you're learning what are the things and then, okay, how can I design the most positive experience so that we can achieve the outcome that we're seeking.
Okay. And yes. And so I'm getting that. I'm starting to ideate on, here's some areas that I see are pain points for both groups. So then I go into the room and we're looking at a process and there's an issue in this spot. Let's now talk about what are some things we could do. And then we open it up. Like, that's brainstorming too.
Yes.
Where you're getting people to share ideas on something specific. So yes. I wanted to be clear before we moved on. It's not just this come in the room and there's no rules and there's no agenda and we're just going to, like that's where people sometimes default when we're going to have a brainstorming session. And that is not always, in fact, rarely is that what it is. It's, and so being clear on what the purpose is, but you have to be super careful if you are the facilitator, because it could very much be a very positive experience. It could also be that they're waiting for you to tell them what to do. And so coming in and telling them, we're brainstorming, and based on what you said, this is what we need to do. And they contributed only enough to be able to get you to tell them and give them instructions. And so that, to me, you can walk a very fine line of, you're getting feedback, you're getting things you need, but you're still the one dictating it.
Yes.
And they're not going to feel like whatever you ask them to do and contribute to, that they were a part of. So just be careful when you're doing those and you're listening and you're giving feedback. Like if you're asking them, and if sometimes you may not care. If you don't care, don't ask them. If you care and you want them to help contribute to the solution, then you have to make sure they're engaged in what the solution is.
Yes, 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 and yes. So there's a couple of things that you pointed out that I think we got to let people know.
Yes.
If this whole brainstorming ideation thing is like it's not a common thing done within your team or within your firm, you got to be ready for people not to be comfortable with it. Because like that level of autonomy, maybe it's not autonomy, but creative play, I'll say, is foreign to most people in the workplace. Like we've squeezed it out of everybody. And so expect it to be clunky and wonky, but stay at it, right? And so Pete's bringing it. Pete says you got to make them realize that there are no repercussions, right? You're not going to be punished. We're talking about ideas. We want to make something better. Craig, what's up, Craig? Craig says, if it's brainstorming where only the senior leader ideas get implemented, it's not much of a brainstorm.
It goes that he's literally said it before I said it. So yes,
Yep.
Craig.
Yep.
But it is. It's like be clear, but also like don't make it sound like one thing, but it's really not.
Yes. And folks, go through the chat. There's a lot of really good pointers in the chat. I'm gonna do my best to come back to them, but I want to hammer on something.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want the tribe to do is answer the question: what suffocates the ideation? All right. Now, going back to the point I made a little while ago, this is kind of new and your people aren't ready for it, the managers also may not be ready for it. And kind of building on Craig's point is a lot of times just the simple words that we use signal to people whether their idea is going to be entertained or not. And here's the deal. When you're doing the brainstorming, all ideas have equal weight. It is not the time to start squeezing out or filtering out dumb ass ideas.
Mm-hmm.
That happens next. In brainstorming, all ideas count.
Yep.
Because, and I think James said it, when all ideas, like they start they're the bridge to the best idea. And so people can start tacking on and building into that. And so one thing that I've done to help people understand what that feels like is the no, but, yes, and exercise. And so I learned that in improv. I was taking an improv class, and it's a simple exercise. And if you want to know what it feels like, maybe we do it on the after party, Jen.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Yes.
Right. And so what it just really helps us understand is when somebody brings an idea and I say, yeah, but that's a minimizing kind of response, right? I'm like, yeah, great idea, but mine is better.
Mm-hmm.
And if people are sensitive like me, they're going to disengage.
Mm-hmm.
Or I say, no, we ain't going to do that. And then I give my idea. I'm signaling to everybody in the room that we don't want ideas. And your ideas have to meet a certain unspoken criterion for them to be considered. And so the spirit is yes and.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're going to have pink snowflakes. And we also need to have flip charts and 3-color markers. We don't need a rainbow of markers, 3. And then we can start building on that. Am I making sense, Jen?
Absolutely, Jen. And I want to add yes and. There's times where someone says something and in your mind you are going, we can never do that. And if you're the facilitator, you're like, there's no way that's going to happen. So you can still do yes and. So if Jesse says we need pink snowflakes, and I say yes, and we probably also need to figure out how we're gonna budget that, or just like you can still get people to share and still maybe also be a part of the conversation to where you're not just yes and at the end everyone's so excited and you're like, yeah, we can't afford any of this. So it's like there's ways that you can still engage and get people excited because you heard them, you acknowledge them, and then we can still keep talking without someone feeling diminished.
Yes, 100%. And so speaking of making sure we don't make people feel diminished, we got Mr. Will Sullivan.
Well, good morning, Will.
He says, bom dia from Brazil.
Yes.
Man, I miss you.
If you're not following him and connected to him, you need to go do that because every day he will bring positive light into your feed.
100%. And then we got Mr. Milo Franco.
Good morning, Milo.
Faithful. How you doing, Milo? Thank you, brother. And so we're getting some good stuff here.
Okay, good.
In terms of what suffocates the ideation, the thing that I've observed the most, and it actually happened on the after party last time, right? The thing that I see happening, like suffocate ideation the most, is our compulsion to start managing the ideas, right? Because you just said it, right? Some of them like, ooh, but we can't do that. Like, that's going to be expensive. That's going to take a lot of our brains start doing that, and we start squeezing out. They're like, oh no, like it's not practical. Oh, and again, we start talking ourselves out of great ideas.
Yep.
So like Maria, one word, it's the judgment, right? Right. Like it. And so that what I work very hard on when I'm ideating with the team, especially when we're doing problem solving, right? Like we got to be creative because this problem that you hired me to help you with is a legacy problem, meaning you've had it for a very long time. And the thinking that you've approached it with thus far has not affected the problem. Mm-hmm. So we need new thinking. So all ideas, and I'm kind of like the referee when I can see people say, well, you go stand in the corner, you go to timeout, because we need to keep these ideas coming so we can find something good. And I'm ultra clear on the setup. We're going to be brainstorming and ideating on these things. Mm-hmm. We're looking for ideas to affect, impact, test, experiment, these things. And we're going to do that for this many minutes. And after those minutes, then we're going to prioritize, select, vet, authorize, whatever, the ideas. Mm-hmm. But we're not doing any of the prioritizing, vetting out of the ideas until that clock alarm goes off. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that, Jen?
Well, yes. And I want to speak directly to the leaders that are the ones in the front of the room. I'm speaking to you specifically, is if you want something to get better, which most of us do, and you already know what the solution needs to be, don't waste people's time. Because you are, in your mind, I already know what we need to do, but I need everyone to feel bought in. If that is your thinking at the beginning, like, that's wrong. Let's just start with that.
There you go.
And then I'm going to ask you to ask yourself this question. Are you the one doing the work?
Woo!
So if you're the leader and there's a broken system, there's a problem. It doesn't matter if it's systematic. It doesn't matter if it's personal, if it's it doesn't matter. If there's a problem or an obstacle or an opportunity, whatever you want to call it. Okay. And you already know the answer. You already know what needs to happen. Put it in place. See what happens. Okay. But don't waste people's time in a room to brainstorm. But also, before you think you have the problem, am I the one doing the work? Because if you're not the one doing the work, then you do not have the answer. You do not have the solution. And that, to me, is the power of putting people in a room and doing true brainstorming.
Yeah. Very, very well said. So the best audience to vet the improvement ideas are the people that are suffering the pain of the crappy process. Mm-hmm. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. So don't do it, right? And then, like you said, like if somebody has already decided, and you come, I've done this, and it's a mistake, right? Hey, I just want your feedback on it. I don't want your feedback because I'm not going to do anything with it. But in my head, it's like the gentle way to like introduce and get buy-in. No, I probably should have had feedback before I put the idea together. That's how you get buy-in. Or, you know what? Sometimes it's not always a community affair. Sometimes you just got to tell people what to do. And you say, this is the thing that we're doing. Yeah. Let me know what we can do to make it better after you start doing it. That may not be the nicest way, but I know that having that like in my toolbox helps me dramatically. Yes. And also being able to say, hey, let's actually brainstorm and come up with an idea together helps me dramatically. And being able to toggle within all of that is a big deal.
Yes.
Look at that. Jen, stop wasting time.
Well, I want to double down. It's wasting time because a lot of times I get asked to come in and facilitate these conversations. And if I'm asked to do that, so that's my time, much less their time, but the leaders already know what they're going to do. There's a whole lot of waste there for a lot of different reasons. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Wasting resource. It's a lot. Okay. So we got a bunch of answers from
folks. I want to know.
So Maria says, so the question was, what suffocates the ideation? Maria says, high emotions, not nice comments, shaming, humiliation. I agree. And I'm going to add to that. If you're feeling slighted and you don't voice that, that also adds to it. So maybe tolerating or lack of self-advocating, because, you know, it builds the, you know, the resentment, and you can start feeling it in the room. And so, yes, all of the above. Who else we got in here? We got Mr.
They're
Jordan.
just coming, man. They're coming. I can see them just popping in.
Jordan says, not understanding the initial vision will squash the flow of the team building off of it. Exactly right. And yes, because I'm that guy. You already know, Jen. Like, if I don't have clear bumper guards, I'm freaking running. And I'm running zigzags and squirrels. And then, which naturally causes people to say, wait a minute, we'll come back. And it's like, oh, you told me not to share my idea. So if it's clear, like, what the hell are we working on? Then we can focus our energy on that. And then, you know, having the parking lot for like, okay, Jess, there you go again. We got to put you in parking lot helps. Let's see. So Curious Idealist shares, doing the damn thing does mean picking one of the damn things to do. And ideation queens like her have trouble transitioning. And so what she was commenting on there is, when you're in ideation phase, that is not an eternal, perpetual state to be in, because you'll never get work done. But when you're out of ideation phase, it stops. No more idea fairies. You ever been in a situation, Jen, where people are like relentlessly bringing ideas for a thing 2, 3, 4 weeks or months after we said, okay, we made a decision, we're moving forward?
Yes. Yeah. And again, I've learned it's not their fault, because there's not been a clear, this is the phase we're in. Now we're here. Now, this is out of everything we got, here's the top 2 or 3 ideas. We're going to go and beta test them. We're going to go and do some pilot projects. We're going to do some things. Do you want to be a part of that? Okay, then we're going to get feedback. Then we're going to go and we're going to use that feedback for how we're going to move forward. If that's clear, 6 weeks down the road, you're not going to go like, I got another idea. But people are going to do that because they get excited because someone's listening. But if they're continuing to do that and you're frustrated, that is on you. That is not on them.
Yes. Oh, man, we got some good stuff in here. All right. So Steve Martin says, Chief Marketeer. Oh, and folks, I got to remind you, we got 22 entries for the randomizer.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So you got a comment, you got a thought, you just want to get in the randomizer, drop some emojis in the chat, and it'll get you in there. So Steve Martin says, where do I begin? Like, in turn, again, what suffocates the ideation? Lack of trust, unshared vision, not failing enough in a safe space, right? Not switching from brainstorming to try-storming. Have you heard that, this try-storming thing?
I have not.
So I may do a bad job of describing, or rather, I'll just describe my understanding. So try-storming, I know Steve Martin picked it up from his sensei, and our buddy Spencer Easton seems to have contact, and that's kind of the spirit of what they're doing over at Morrison. It's like, don't brainstorm, try-storm, like try, test, experiment, like, okay, kick some ideas around and then get into experimentation. So it's kind of the half step, maybe not the half step, but a healthy step between just having ideas and going into full deployment. The try-storming is having ideas. Okay, let's beta test it with low invest, like just whatever we got, let's put it into play and vet, like, is it going to have the impact? How wonky is it? And then you can get, make the little heavier investment to bring the thing to life. So Steve, if I didn't do a good job of that, let us know in the comments. But yes, we got to have that. Josh says, lack of trust, leaders who encourage others to be creative and take ownership of their ideas. What do you think about that, Jen?
Well, yes, like if your goal is I'm going to sit in a very siloed room and I'm going to get everyone to give me the ideas, and then I am the person of authority in that room, and then I can go and I can allow these things to happen, and then somewhere down the road I'm in a room reporting out. If you are taking credit for all of that, you are not a good leader.
Straight up.
You're just not. Like, I mean, if we live, this world is about connection and about community and about how we're helping and building each other up. And like that is what's going to help us continue to get better. And if
Yes.
you feel you need that feather in your cap or you need that credibility, like this is a way bigger problem than you just taking credit for something.
Right. And, you know, I'm going to say it clear. If your team is struggling with brainstorming and you're the freaking leader, chances are
You're the
it's
problem. You're the problem.
like, I mean, I have to come to terms with that. Like, what is the problem? Oh, it's me. And like, I poo-poo on everybody's idea. I rush them to it. I want them to come with a freaking budget and a business plan to spend $50 on a damn idea. Like, come on, man. Of course they're not going to brainstorm. So, which reinforces our buddy Daryl. What's up, Daryl? Says remaining curious is key. And yes, and is great to keep engagement and conversation flow. And so we got a question about the yes and idea.
Okay.
So Mr. Uncommon Communicator, he says he loves the yes, the no, yes, but, yes, and icebreaker as an icebreaker. It serves the purposes of getting everyone to talk and reveals the power of collaboration without saying the word collaboration. And then he asks a question. He says he's curious about time boxing the idea generation. He's facilitated in the past until ideas slowed or stopped. It seems there is an advantage to both. So, folks, what do y'all think? Jen, what do you think? Like, is it, if it's 20 minutes, it's 20 minutes, or just freestyle until the energy drops?
Well, for time boxing, to me, I'm guessing he's meaning in an agenda. My brain went to like, okay, send me all your ideas, and in 2 weeks I'm going to compile them. I don't like that. Like when if like, not that I need control of it, but when you're in the moment, that's when you're going to get the best things. Like there may be they leave the meeting and one more thing popped in their head. I mean, those are one-offs, I feel, but in a room where you've kind of created the space for that, then to me, like we're going to do, and I want to answer it this way. I don't time box it, because if I'm facilitating, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 opportunities within a full day that I am asking for ideas. It is not, so for the way I do it, based on what the questions are, okay, now everyone's going to write it down. Now we're going to add it to the board. Now we're going to talk through this and tell me a little bit about what this means. And then we're going to vote on them. And then we're going to go to another idea. So like the way I break it up, it's not broken up on an agenda so much of first part is ideating, then because we're not going to create the solution in the room.
Right.
That's to me.
Yes. And that's kind of, we trick our brains to like, okay, we're going to solve it right now. Like, no, we're not.
No.
We're going to start the problem solving process.
Yes.
So my take is this. If it's 20 minutes, like I feel when I cut time off, I feel like I'm being GC'd, right? Like you have 3 months. Oh, wait, it's 2.5 months because we can. And so when I box out 20 minutes to do some ideation, brainstorming stuff, and I see the kind of energy like dissipates and it's low activity, fine. If we're done, like go make your phone call, check your email, do whatever you got to do. We got 20 minutes for this. We got a break after that, and then we're going to come back and get to work. So if you got no more ideas, go up there, read all of them, see if something sprouts, walk away, and come back.
Okay, I have another question for you. So finish, because I want to add to what you just said.
Yeah. And then, so I just want to make this point. I treat brainstorming, that is the only thing on the agenda. We're going to brainstorm, and we might, if we have enough time, we might start doing some prioritization of what we want to attack first. That's it. I'm not doing brainstorming research, like that's why we suffocated, because we have 10 freaking bullets on the agenda. Anyways, that's it. That's what I have.
So my follow-up is, again, and I love the word agenda because it has my name in it. And so every time I think about it, it's like, okay, I get to dictate what this word means. And so for us, you and I talk a lot about a very loose agenda because we want to have high level what the purpose, what the why is. But Jesse, what if you have 20 minutes blocked out, and at 20 minutes, the room is on fire? Then what?
Make that fire burn, right? Here's like the most important thing, like the whole purpose of the thing needs to be first.
Yes.
Because if it goes over, it's the most important thing to go over. Like, come on. The other, and again, it's about prioritizing, and it's about what is the purpose? What are we doing? And let's just do that damn thing. So yeah, I am 100% okay. Rather, I should say it this way. You probably can only ever count on me to focus on maybe the top 3 bullet items. The rest of it, I don't read it. Like, it doesn't make sense, because when you get human beings in the world or in the same space, the conditions change, things happen, energy, ideas, and it's like, okay, let's go in that direction. If it can be super rigid and like report out, that's a freaking email or a video. I could record a video of me telling people what to do, how to go places, and send it to them. No brainstorming required. So why are you bringing human beings together that could be doing other work if you're not doing something meaningful and really important? So that's, maybe I went a little too far on it, but I get excited.
I think can we just take a moment to backtrack? Because I think I want to get clear here, or maybe on yours and my understanding. Like, when you talk about brainstorming, when you use that, like, what does that mean? When you use that word?
Brainstorming is about the group that is working together on a thing to come up with ideas about how to approach the thing. That's brainstorming for me.
I think for me, it's allowing, again, that mind shift, or let my brain expand bigger than what's already in place. And so that's how I look at it. And so and again, ask yourself, how do I define brainstorming? Because it may be in the definition as to why you having issues. Truth.
Yeah, like we're brainstorming because we are smarter together than any one individual in the room. That's why. So we got Francis. What's going on, Francis?
Good morning, Francis.
Says, I like that tri-storming.
Well, Francis does BD. She does sales. And I think she even says, like, okay, how does that also play into like new clients, or trying to go out and ask people things that you don't know about them? Like how does that then play into a strategy or a pursuit or things like that? So no.
Yeah, so I'm going to try and touch on that, because it's something that I think I have an unfair advantage of. When I'm interacting with the prospect, and also you should know, everybody in my brain I think of as a prospect. I imagine myself, remember when we used to go to the playground when we were kids? Mm-hmm. And you would just go up to a strange kid and you say, hey, you want to play together? You want to play? Right? We didn't say, this is my name, this is how many, all my certificates, and like none of that. What do you do? Who do you work? We just said, hey, do you want to play? We didn't even define the game that we were going to play.
Yes.
We were just asking, do you want to play? And so in terms of like engaging in business development and so forth, if I come to a prospect and say, let me show you all my service options, and this is how they go, I've done that. It doesn't work so good. But when I meet a prospect and think of it in terms of like, hey, you want to play? Yes or no? Okay, well, what should we play? And then we just kind of do the dance and then figure out. And all of that there's a form of ideation and brainstorming, learning each other, kind of calibrating. Can I really deliver value for them? Yes or no? But I have to be divorced from my personal wants and needs to drive a sale.
Oh my gosh, Jesse. Yes, 1,000%. So my brain, very, very similar pretty much with anybody I interact with. Like, yes, there is probably an end game somewhere, and yes, I may be a part of it or I may not. I don't care. And so what goes in my brain, and it's not so much, do you want to have fun? But if you've ever watched the movie Frozen, like, do you want to build a snowman? Like, and to me, that's the question that I'm like, it's completely off task. It's completely not going to get us across the finish line to be able to have this new pursuit and this new client, and we're going to build business and it's going to help us with our revenue. Like, my brain does not work like that. It's important and it needs to be part of the process. But if you are going in, do you want to build a snowman? And then we start talking, and then you get excited and I get excited, and then we're building a relationship and we're starting to connect, that other stuff's going to happen.
Yep.
And I just like literally, that is the way I approach almost every person that I interact with.
Do you want to build a snowman? So Steve Martin says, go-to brainstorming practice, his cheat code is don't build a snowman. Don't start brainstorming the actual problem. Start with an off-topic example, let it fly from there, reflect together, fill the gaps, and then get into it. 100%, right? Give them a low, I didn't mean to do that one yet. A low risk rep, right? This is this low risk. No, we're not getting into the business part yet. Like, oh, it's not that bad. And then, okay, let's get into the business part. So Ian's got a question, and folks, I want to tell you, got a few more minutes before we do the randomizer. Ian is asking, what do you think of using something like Mural, virtual whiteboard, or doing a lean coffee collaborate in brainstorming, or is a good old whiteboard work best? Jen?
I'm going to say they're both, depending on the group and the logistics and the geographic and what you're trying to do. So for an example, right now within our company, we have a huge event a year out. So we have a huge event that's going to happen, and there are representatives from every division in the company that are part of the group that are helping plan it. And so for us, because of the logistics piece, and we're not all in the same place, and we will be sporadically, but we won't be every time, a mural board for us was absolutely the right answer, because we have sticky notes. Everybody has their color. We have the spreadsheet of what the sessions are going to be. We have the timeline at the bottom of what are the milestones, and everybody has access to it. Anybody can go in at any time and add it. And then when we have a meeting, somebody goes in, they kind of look at everything. It helps drive the next agenda. And then everyone has a spot. Everyone has a place. Somebody's voice didn't get overruled or didn't get added because they weren't loud enough. So whatever. So for me in that situation, absolutely having the mural board to be able to share and ideate and get people. We have an idea section where they're just adding ideas that will eventually move over into what the structure looks like. And so sometimes people are they're more apt to share in that situation. But if you have an opportunity where you have people all together, it's always valuable to have it live in person in front of them, visual. So I'm just going to say those are my answers.
Yeah, I love it. Well, and I'm going to piggyback off of Heather. Heather says it has to be a true team effort or people will disengage with the quickness. So I'm with you, right? Virtual whiteboards, in person. I know for a fact that a virtual whiteboard with people in different parts of the country can absolutely be effective. I also know, and like, I want to be clear, some people, or there was a time in my career where pre-COVID, where I was like, if it ain't in person, it's garbage, right? False, fake news, because I know that there can be amazing virtual experiences, kind of like this live stream where people are super engaged, sharing ideas, asking questions, helping each other, community. Because I've been in a whole hell of a lot of in-person sessions that bit ass, right? Yeah. So it's not like being in person is the answer. Being connected and understanding it, I think, let the problem pull the tool. Mm-hmm. If we're going to need to document and we're going to be building on this idea long term, and we're going to have to be people are going to be coming in and out of the situation, a freaking virtual whiteboard is amazing, because it's like, hey, I'm not going to catch you up. Do your homework. Here's the link. Go look at it and catch up. But if it's like, hey, we got an opportunity, everybody's going to be in person, we're actually going to get into some action, some try-storming or some actual doing, man, if you're in person, that gets super, super juicy, super, super fun. And so let's think about what's a proper response when you're doing the brainstorming. Instead of saying, no, that's crazy, we don't have the budget for that, we say yes, and we need to determine how to fit that in the budget, right? Yes. We got to figure that out. That's another problem to solve. And then Miss Sonia says, so here, let me set this thing. If yes, and this idea of yes, and is scary to you, because I know for a lot of people, it's like, what do you mean? We're just like, the best place to practice it as an individual to build the yes, and mentality is when you're ordering dessert. When you're out with somebody and they order the creme brulee, you say yes, and let me have the lava chocolate milk. And it's good. What do you think, Jen? Is that a good cheat
I
code?
love that. Yes. And if you ever go somewhere with Jesse and it's not a predetermined place where Jesse has already scoped out the dessert, and you're with your family and they're kind of like, they don't order a dessert a lot and Jesse gets to have input, you will end up having the 7-layer rainbow cream cheese cake with cotton candy on top, with Pop Rocks on top, with drizzle and stuff. And you are looking at this like, what just happened? I'm just going to say.
Yep. Yes. And we got Miss Heather. Heather likes Miro. So there's, hell, by now, I imagine there's probably dozens of different virtual whiteboards. Miro, Miro, is one of them. Mural, Mural, is another one. I think Microsoft has its own. There's all kinds. I'm going to say this, like, folks, if you're not playing around with virtual whiteboards, you should give it a shot. And I'm also going to say, try at least 3 of them, because they have some, for me anyways, there are some little nuances about the way they function and operate that will completely transform your experience. So for people like me, Mural is perfect. Mm-hmm. The other 2 are a pain in the butt. Mm-hmm. Now, I know people that love and heavily advocate for Miro and do like really amazing stuff, and it's great for them, and they don't like Mural. My point is, find the one that best serves you and then make a decision.
Okay, so I want to add it because I know you're about to do randomizer. So I want to talk, so it gives everyone additional time, if you're out there lurking, to add something to the comments so that you can be in the randomizer. Will you pull Heather's comment back up about the mural board? Heather. And so I want to speak to the second sentence that she wrote. And so a cheat code, those of you out there that are leaders, that have people that report to you, and that you are looking at this, yes, this is what I want to do with my team, this is what I want to do with my project, you do not need to be the facilitator. That is the cheat code that I'm telling you. You need to be one of the people in the audience contributing to the brainstorming, contributing to the ideas. And another cheat code is, if you are the senior person in the room and you have a facilitator, you have the facilitator know ahead of time that your idea gets shared last. Because 2 things: if you're facilitating, you are still leading and you are still managing in front of that room, whether you know it or not, whether you've set the stage, whether you have the right environment, whether you are making them feel as comfortable as possible, they still report to you. So you do not need to be the person facilitating that conversation. Bring in a neutral one, bring in somebody outside of the project, outside of the department. The other part is, if you are part of the team and you are part of the ones contributing to it, they're going to mimic behaviors.
Yes.
And if you ask them and you are the first one to share, their responses will be very similar to yours. But if you are the very last person to share your idea, you will be able to hear so many different things that will have been squashed if you are the one that shares first.
Oof. It's gangsta. All right, so we're gonna do the randomizer. Melissa just asked a question.
Okay.
And I'm not sure so we'll clarify this while I'm doing the randomizer. Okay. But Melissa, Jen, Jesse, what does your email invite or phone call meeting, etc., look like that's asking the team to come to this session? So Melissa, help us out. Are you talking about to come to the live stream, to go to the after party?
Or like a collaborative session, or like a brainstorming. Okay.
If you can add that clarity, my sister, that will be super helpful. And it is randomizer. Do the randomizer. Hang on, let me.
So Jesse, I think we've realized that if we do this and we get a duplicate or somebody that's done it before, we can draw again to get a new person. I think.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So here we go. Let's see who's gonna win the randomizer.
Yes.
Mr. Josh, you will be getting some calendar invites to join us at the next 2 sessions of the cultivation crew. And
he's ready. Look at him. He's ready.
That's so awesome. Look, you said, "Let's go, baby." Okay, so Melissa helped us out. She said, what does the call, invite, etc. look like for the collaborative session?
Yep.
What do you got for her, Jen?
I will say, well, I'm gonna, I guess, caveat this to the invite itself. What gets put on the calendar, and almost, I'm not saying 100% of the time, but almost all of the times, if it's going to be a session that I am tasking people to come in and share and ideate, they got some homework that they have to do before they come into the room. And so to me, that's part of the way I share. This is the event we have coming up. This is kind of some things, whether it's a sheet that I need them to fill out, whether it's some open-ended questions I want them to start thinking about coming into the room. That for me, that's what I do, because it speeds up them sitting there. I don't know. I don't have an idea. I'm not sure. Like, for me, I prep it, and it could just be one question, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. So here's the purpose of it. Here's what we're trying to do. Please be prepared to come to the meeting and just think about these things coming in. You don't have to have very clear answers, but these are things that we're going to talk about. And for me, it sets the stage where they're not coming in, walking in going, why am I here?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, look at James is like, damn it, so close on the randomizer.
Josh stole it from you.
Yeah, I agree. So Melissa, again, thank you for like a really great question. Here's what I do. First of all, like Melissa's like, what does the email or phone call look like? First layer, it's all of the above. Phone call, text, email, calendar invite. Is that too much? Maybe. But whatever, it's what it's going to be. And then I like to really leverage the subject line on every email. And what I mean by that is the first word is going to say ideation or hype it up, creative, brainstorming, awesome meeting coming. Like, I really hype it up because I want people to know, like, oh, there's that goofball again. But I want it to stick out in their head. And so another thing that I work on doing is I don't just send a calendar invite about an ideation session, because there's a lot of people like me that will accept it without reading the notes in the calendar invite. And so I do double time. I do the calendar invite with the agenda, the bullet points and what we're going to do, blah, blah, blah. And it's super simple. We're going to introductions, have fun, next steps, right? Like, I don't get too crazy because I know very few people read it. I'll put links in there and I'll send an email and I'll say, hey, I send the calendar invite. And then I send an email and say, hey, there should be an invite at your inbox. These are the things that we're planning on attacking. This is the reason. This is what we're doing. Keep an eye out for reminders between now and then. And then, like I said, the phone call texting, when I can go in there and check, like, who did they accept, yes or no? And if they haven't accepted, they get special attention. Like, hey, what's going on? Or a text like, hey, man, I sent the calendar invite. Are you like, do you not want to play? Is there an issue? Like, oh, no, I just forgot to, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, cool. And so I know that might be just a little too intense, but I do all of the above. So I would take one of those and do them. Or if you want to be psychotic like me, do them all. What do you think, Jen?
Absolutely. And just my role in a lot of things is facilitator. Jesse, your role in a lot of things is facilitator, whether it's the neutral facilitator that gets brought in, whether it's because of what you're getting paid for, whatever it is, our roles are facilitators. And so there is not one right answer for what's up. For one I have coming up, I'm having one-on-one conversations with every person that will be in that room. So I've already got some data and some insight that's going to help me in asking questions. It's going to help me in getting people engaged. There's going to be sometimes rooms where you send a survey out and you get some feedback. So going in with data, and I'm not saying it has to be super Power BI reports and all this, but if you have some insights to go in to be able to help foster conversations, and sometimes it's pain points, sometimes it's other things. Like, as the facilitator, that's kind of on you to go in and be prepared for stuff like that.
Yeah. And when I see the signals like, ooh, this is going to be a rough one, I'm going to spend more time one-on-one with the individuals, kind of massaging the edges off of whatever it is. And those are my favorite. Actually, I had a boss tell one of the top 3, what do we call them, compliments I ever had. I heard about these different sessions that were being facilitated. I'm like, man, those sound awesome. But I've only been in these, which were like not fun, like not like real.
Yes.
There was real resentment and conflict to work through. And I'm like, why don't I get to? He's like, Jesse, we only bring you in for these kind. Like those other ones, we got it. We don't need you for that. We need you for this. Like,
yes.
Okay, like I get it. But in those cases, it's the front end, like understanding people's feelings and perspective, because there's drama and baggage and whatever. I'll say it this way. Maybe this will help. The deeper the resentment and conflict or unresolved conflict, the more touch points I'm going to apply. That's the formula. All right, Jen, we got 5 minutes. You got a closing thought?
I do. So I've been thinking about all these comments. So a couple of cheat codes that I shared, I want to make sure that y'all got them, because I'm really big on that. Number one is, if you already have the answer and you already have the solution, you know what you're going to do, don't call a meeting to have people give you ideas. Like, just like, don't waste your time, because it's going to be counterproductive. Do it, try it. If it doesn't work, then go and have a real brainstorming ideation session with the people that are doing the work, with the people that are struggling through whatever's messed up, and let them help contribute to the problem or contribute to the solution. The second one is, if you are the leader, do not be the facilitator of the conversation. Be a part of the audience. And then I was trying to think, there was one more on, let me think, 1, 2, 3. I think I lost it. So anyway, those are the biggest things for me. And just remember, and this is for the people in the audience, because I'm watching all these comments, like, be aware of the meetings you get invited to facilitate, because you may be the person that has all the magic and is able to do all this. Double down on that, because it is a superpower. It is something that you could do within your role. You can do within your firm. You can do, like, it is a superpower. And I'm going to say that because I double down on it. I know that I could go in and I can help our industry be better because of those facilitation skills. And if you are seeing yourself getting pulled into some of these sticky places and you're able to have that, like, own that, and then be able to use that as you grow in your career. That's
yes. Oh, I love it. And just straight up gangster. I will repeat, if you're catching this on the replay or you skipped the whole, like, you didn't get to hit the whole beginning, there's a hell of a lot of advice, great practices in the comments that the tribe brought to the table. We're going to have the after party. I just dropped the link in the chat on the LinkedIn. I'll get to YouTube here in a second. But my closing thought, I'm going to build off of what our buddy, hold on, did I lose it?
Do you see Steve's?
No, I didn't. Where is it? Steve. You say?
Melissa, try this one for your next invite. Headline: do you want to build a snowman? And bring your gloves. Snowball fight celebration when we win.
Yeah. So thank you, Steve. One of the title heads I'll use for these kinds of things is a cuss and discuss session. All right, because I'm letting people know, and people are like, what do you mean cuss and discuss? Like, well, this one seems like it's going to be heavy. And so we want to air the dirty laundry, and we're going to have some discussion. So, and when people like cussing, like, it captures people's attention. Yeah. Just like Steve said, do you want to build a snowman? All right. Mr. Milo says, and I want to close with this. One has to be selective as to who to bring into a brainstorming meeting. I agreed 100%. And again, another just kind of repeat or summary of, be clear, like, about what the intended outcome is, or what the problem or issue is that you're ideating and brainstorming about. Mm-hmm. And if you're the agenda setter, or the person kind of managing the thing or leading the thing, when you get clear about what that is, it becomes clear who needs to be there and who doesn't need to be there. Right? And so now I'll also add, this is something to maybe experiment with. Once I get clear, okay, this is the thing. Okay, that's what we're going to do. These are the people that are going to have the most insight to the issue because they're living it, they're experiencing it, they're dealing with it. Then I say, okay, who do I know that's outside of this thing entirely that isn't scared to contribute and connect with people that they don't know? And can I bring them in? So got this one stranger weirdo that has a totally different perspective, because that can ignite different ideas, and they'll ask the, we'll say, innocent questions that they're just asking because they don't know, which also kind of sparks, stokes, and feeds the ideation. Now, if you don't have a lot of experience like facilitating, maybe do that later, because they could piss you off. They could take people off track. But if you got, you got it, add that little strange weirdo in there, and it'll transform your outcomes.
Okay, Jesse, I want to add one more thing. So one more cheat code when you're in rooms and you got to get people engaged and you want to know their ideas and whether they're struggling. A question to ask, and it's disarming, but it's also be ready for the responses, is when you go around the room and you're trying to fix something or there's a pain point, do you care for us to make a change? Because if they don't, then that's clear. And if they do, that's going to get them talking on to, okay, what does that look like? So again, when you're struggling getting it, like just do you care that there's a change to this process? Do you care that we're going to fix this relationship? Like whatever that is, ask them, because that gets to their human part outside of work, outside of everything else. Do I care? And it'll be clear. And then you can move forward from there.
Yes. So folks, after party starting here in a few minutes. The link is everywhere. Hope you're there. Heather, the Joneses out there, y'all travel safe. Everybody else, thank you for the support, and we'll see you again.